West Ham is located about 5 miles east of the City of London. It's part of the London Borough of Newham. Originally a rural parish, West Ham lies on the bank of the River Lee. The growth of London had a major effect on West Ham, especially when in 1844 the Metropolitan Buildings Act restricted noxious industries from operating in London and Middlesex, so many relocated to West Ham. The railway arrived at about the same time, and together with the development of the Royal Groups of Docks from 1855, they spurred a massive growth in the area. The Thameside marshes were transformed into huge manufacturing and engineering complexes which rivaled the great northern cities, and housing grew to accommodate many of the people who worked in these industries. And by the late 19th century, West Ham was 8th largest town in Britain. But the Blitz changed the face of West Ham forever. Mass evacuation in 1940 followed devastating bombing with V1 and V2 attacks which destroyed and depopulated large parts of the area. Major rebuilding followed in post-Second World War years, and West Ham underwent many changes. New residents moved into the area, and in 1965 West Ham and its neighbour East Ham amalgamated to become Newham, ending a long link with Essex.
West Ham is steeped in history in relation to sport. I think the Ironworks chairman wanted his employees to not only to be working hard but also to play hard. He was the one who built this for his workforce, 6,500 people. And when you consider that the Memorial Grounds was the Wembley of its day, I think it's 7 football pitches covered that area. And this was a stadium for 138,000 participants. The West Ham Cycling Club, the Ladies Cycling Club, the running, the swimming, it's all there. Our history, 120 years ago, it was here. West Ham is where it was going on.
It was, so just after the war, so they were, the housing wasn't brilliant because of all the bomb damage. We lived in a prefab, which we were quite lucky to have because we had a decent place to stay in. But there was lots of places around for us children. There weren't many cars, so we could play in the street, which was good. We just play sort of rounders and touch in the street. Go on our bikes and our skates and skate around.
We never had anything, but we made our own fun and amusements. Going out playing in the park or making trolleys, barrows, orange books on wheels type of thing. The normal games that you play at home was 5 stones, British bulldog, which no one ever seems to have heard of, and used to put cigarette cards up against the wall. And if they fell, the one that fell farthest out, if it was yours, you grabbed all the others. Marbles, very popular game.
We couldn't really afford the nice marbles, so we used to play with bottle tops that you went to the corner shop and they just gave them to you. And so you threw them against the wall, and there may be 10 of you playing at the same time. The one who got closest to the wall won. But in order to retain his bottle tops, he had to put them on his elbow in a stack on his elbow. It's quite difficult, really. You put them on your elbow, and then you had to catch them all. And what you caught, you kept, and the game carried on like that. It was quite social in those days, really. You were expected to just be around other people all the time. You didn't sit in your room watching telly or playing with a video game. It wasn't. You didn't have them. If we had them, maybe we would have done that.
go and see the motorbikes riding and also the banger racing, with the cars crashing into each other. If we didn't go there, we could hear them from where we lived. So you could hear the stadium and the roar and everything. So I used to quite enjoy that.
And it was always one of the highlights of people to go to West Ham Speedway to cheer on the names of riders, names who've gone. But it was like footballers. They had their own groovies.
We used to do netball, and there was athletics that we used to run, etc. And I used to enjoy that. We used to have school houses, 4 different houses, and so when we had athletics, you competed as a house against each other, or the others, and I used to quite enjoy that.
Our football team was particularly successful, and often they'd play the first 11. If you could get into the so-called first 11, then you knew that you were a good footballer. And if you could get into the first 11, which was years 12, right the way up to years 13, if you could get into the first 11 when you were in year 10, then that proved that you were a very good footballer. My brother got into the first 11 when he was in year 10, and in fact he had a trial with West Ham when he was 14. I never was as good as that.
So there was that feeling in the among the people of England that you did sport. You played, everybody played a sport. One of the subjects of conversation would be, so what school are you at? Do you play football or rugby? It was a kind of a key subject in a sense.
But obviously, you get involved because the whole borough was involved. Everyone was talking about it. My then wife and my son went to see it. I got tickets. My son was about 15, I think, 15 or 16-ish.
I remember the bus coming along, and I remember crowds of people and shouting, and just everyone being quite happy. And that's what I remember of it. But I went a few times to the see some matches, but just by pure luck, each time I went, they won. And my little nephew used to try and get me to go because he thought that if I went, they'd win.
England had invented football. A lot of the clubs in West Ham were 110 years old, really old traditions of going to football matches. And therefore to win in a big industrial society like we were then, to win the World Cup was immense, And of course Bobby Moore, the blonde giant who was a gentleman, born in this area, raised in this area, captain, and yet one of the people. And he was captain of England.
Well, I've got to say that I moved into the borough in the early 70s, and we opened the Room at the Bottom Youth Club in the Undercroft of Balcombe Point. And part of that was to have a swimming club on a Tuesday night in Beckton Lido. And we ran both of those for 6-7 years, up until the pulling down of Balcombe Point, and obviously the closure in 1986 of the well-renowned Beckton Lido. And I think the one that springs to mind is Tammy, who not only swam the channel twice, I think he was the 4th person to swim the channel. He is one of our sons, a role model indeed.
We started the gym in 1978 in an old classroom in Drew Road School. We've always boxed one way or another, There's always gloves there. Our uncles, our grandfathers, our dad and his father's brother both had boxing clubs in the was involved in boxing clubs. One was in St Luke's School round the corner. I think that was where my granddad was. and one was in Tate and Lyle's. Tate and Lyle's always had all the sports. Tate and Lyle's, they was the best as well with the boxing and everything.
They had the sugar.
They had the sugar. Well, we've had everyone here from Lennox Lewis, Frank Bruno, Barrera.
There's Steve Collins.
Yeah.
Henry Cooper actually.
Yeah, Henry Cooper. We've had. I can't. It's just too many to mention.
But the gym ain't, like I say, the gym ain't just boxing. Although boxing is probably our biggest vehicle for publicity, the gym's just not about boxing. You know, it's more of a community facility. We do wrestling, we do karate, we do jiu-jitsu, we do mixed martial arts, running, all different sorts of things.
The games of the 30th Olympiad are awarded to the city of London.
For a start, it's going to bring a lot more Londoners to the area to live. It's going to boost the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, reputation of this area. It'll be good because more money's coming into the area. It's going to look a lot nicer, I think. Also, opportunity-wise, it should bring a lot of extra jobs and things like that for this area. But mainly, things for you lot to do as well, because of the whole Olympic Village and things like that, and a nice green space around Stratford, rather than just huge buildings everywhere.
Actually, a lot has changed in Newham, you know. New buildings coming up and places for recreation where you can go and recreate, you know, parks. I mean, like Grassroots that I'm familiar with. Grassroots is a good play area for children now, you know, and so many activities there for the children to enjoy. I can see that the schools, they are really encouraging the children into sports. My second grandson has really taken part in a lot of these field events, you know. All this sort of encouragement, I think, will really help the children, you know.
Let's get people back to sport, as it was when I was younger. Get everybody off the couch and into the teams and running and enjoy and just, you know, enjoying sport, whatever it is, whatever the sports are. I think that's absolutely right.
Well, the future is obviously the Olympics. You know, in 2012, the whole of the world will not be looking at the UK, not be looking at London, they will be looking at Newham, the Olympic borough. We've got 80% of what goes on with the Olympics going on in this borough, and yet everybody and their dog will be looking. I think it will be fabulous for the young people of this borough, the role models that are going to be set by the Olympic team. And of course we've got local people who are in athletics, in swimming, who will be there representing the UK, but also waving that flag for Newham.